Yes, you are so funky.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Night Pod. My name is Jeremy Jacobowitz. I'm here with tag team partner Adam Welby.
Hey yo!
And this is the podcast all about the Monday Night Wars of the battles in WWF Raw and WCW Nitro. Every single week, we go back in time and we re-review when the two shows went head to head. Adam, why should people listen to what we have to say though?
Well, you know, there's a lot of wrestling podcasts out there. You know, you could listen to as many as you want, obviously. You know, there's of course Monday Night Pod at the top of the list, but you know, there's Talk is Jericho, there's 411, there's Something to Wrestle With, the Wrestling Mayhem Show. There's so many places you can go to learn different wrestling things. But, and I know we don't talk too much about our current thoughts on things, but today we're in a very unique position on Monday Night Pod because for once we are able to very specifically speak to something. And I shouldn't say we, I don't want to diminish my role in the show, but really it's you, Jeremy, who can speak to something very specific. There is a match type that was announced yesterday, called yesterday as we record this,
Yes.
called the Mimosa Mayhem match. And I don't think there's a person on this earth who is as tied into professional wrestling and Brunch as Brunch Boys himself, Mr.
Yes.
Jeremy Montgomery Jacobowitz. You sandbagging son of a bitch. So tell us what to expect out of a Mimosa Mayhem match based on your experience in the brunching world.
Well, I don't want to give too much away, Adam, because this is a no spoiler zone. But I will say that there has been communication in the AEW world. I'm not saying there's been communication back, but there have been feelers sent out to AEW to see what we can do about this.
That sounds like the reason they should listen to the show.
Yeah, that's a good reason, I guess. The other real reason is that we both used to work at WWE. We worked in the WWE tape library. Our jobs were to watch all of wrestling. Everything? Yeah,
everything that WWE owns in their tape library, so their acquired footage, their own footage.
Dating back generations. But yeah, I know you're like frothing at the bit so about current stuff, but here's the problem with that, Adam. We record Sunday, and Monday the podcast goes up, and guess what's happening in between those two things?
Survivor Series?
Yeah, a gigantic SummerSlam extravaganza, the biggest party of the summer, although this year it's now, the catchphrase is like, you never know what's going to happen, or something. It's like, no, we know what's going to happen. It's WWE. Or something like that. I like biggest party. I guess they couldn't call it biggest party of summer because, like, nobody's there. So it's hard. I guess we're in the Thunderdome now. So what, did you apply to be, like, one of the Thunderdome contestants? Or,
no, sir. Did you?
I did not either. I just can't focus like that. If I'd sit there and watch, like, 4 hours of pay-per-view and, like, not do something else, like Kevin Dunn would be like, get the guy on his cell phone off the screen now, god damn it.
There is no angle that I dislike more than like when people have their phones like down here, you know, like really close to their face, and they're doing this while they're on there, and like that's what it actually messes with the lizard part of my brain, and that's what like a lot of those were. And so,
I could barely make. I'm like, I really don't want to stare at them anyway, so I'm just like, whatever. It's an idea, I guess.
I'm glad people are trying things.
Why didn't they just?
You know,
I know they're all pre-selected, but why didn't they just pay people? Like, what do they have? 200 screens. You get 50 people. You replicate them. You pay them all as extras, and you just tell them what to do. Have the fucking performance center people do it. It doesn't really matter.
Kind of like they were anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like these people were cheering or like reacting in a way that helped the show. They just stood there like, ooh.
Yeah, they're just kind of watching on their phone. Yeah. No one's going to be starting a chant.
Ooh.
That's right. No one's going to be starting a chant from behind their screen.
But we can't. I don't think their audio is turned up. I think all the audio is fake anyway.
Yeah.
They are in silence, and then it's just canned audio. Which I've been watching a lot of baseball, and baseball is all canned audio, and you really can't tell the difference most times because you don't really see the fans a lot in baseball. So
soccer's the same way
like,
right now.
There's a way to do it. Just WWE kind of. I mean, they did it with the Edge and Randy Orton match. I just don't think they gave it enough time to go. Just fucking do it. Don't worry about what the idiots on Reddit think. They're wrong anyway. If they were right, we'd have the #1 podcast in the world.
Well, ain't that the truth? But we're on our way. We're climbing up. we're getting more podheads week over week, and it's all good. And you know why they come here? It's because we have a time machine.
Yeah, let's do it, Adam. Let's go back. We're going to December 2nd, 1996. Raw is once again taped from the New Haven Coliseum in New Haven, Connecticut. This is episode 187. Once again, we open with no show open, right into Flash Funk with the Funkettes versus the Goon. The Goon is still there, Adam.
He sure is. Speaking of other podcasts and stuff, briefly, we've heard many things over the years that seem to be very tall tales from one Christopher Jericho, but he was saying on his podcast that was a retrospective about his debut that originally he was going to come in as the Goon, or they had approached him with
they approached him with the idea of being a jobber,
and
he believed it would have been to be the Goon because they asked him a lot of questions about his dad.
Yeah, it makes sense that would it have been, but thank goodness it was not, and we have the GOAT in Mr. Jericho. But Flash Funk versus the Goon.
Yes, this match goes 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's just walk through this a little bit. Vince tries to dance with the Funkettes as they come down, and he is awkward Vince dancing. We see Sean in WWF Studios. They're teasing his interview coming up later tonight. They will continue to tease that. Flash, it's like he springboards himself up to the middle rope, and then up and jumping over to hit a flying clothesline, which is pretty sweet. Hits a moonsault from the top rope to the outside, pretty high flying. But then it just completely broke down. My next note was, why is this match so long? I'm dumb. But anyway, 360 backwards flying leg drop.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Well, it's crazy because he botched it. He just barely grazes the Goon and pins him for the win. And we see a new fancy camera in the corner, something they will try seamlessly over and over and over again and never get right.
Yeah. The crowd was so dead for this too.
I was dead for this.
Yeah. It sucks because Too Cold Scorpio is the shit, man. If you watch some of Too Cold Scorpio's ECW stuff and whatnot, he's fucking awesome. And you can see the way that he moves in this match, the way that he's able to do kicks and stuff like that. This is a talented guy, and they just are so focused on slamming people with gimmicks. And I was thinking it's funny too that Vince has this obsession, it seems I shouldn't say obsession because there's so many years between it, but this through line of wanting to make something with funk work in it, right? That's why we got the Funkasaurus and the Funkadactyls,
I don't think
who are basically the same as the Funkettes.
I don't think he's trying to get it to work. I think that they ask him what's a hip thing, and in his brain, funk is hip.
Yeah.
So when they're trying to come up with a gimmick that's sort of similar, the only word that he has is, well, it's funky, god damn it. And they're but that's no, it's funky, I said.
It's funk. They're the Funkettes, don't you get it?
Right. If Flash Funk could just come in and hit those 3 moves and pins him, I would have been great debut. Unfortunately, it went on and on and on and on. The finish was very sloppy. And I don't know why the Goon is still on TV, so.
Yeah, well, because he has all those character jobbers or whatever.
It's almost 1997.
Yeah, it's true. You'd think that we'd be more evolved by now. I mean, we've had a year of the Monday Night Wars, a little more than a year, actually.
For a year.
And, you'd think that things would have developed a little more by now, but they haven't.
Nope. Well, speaking of that, let's get to the rest of Raw. Next up, it's Fake Diesel versus Phineas Godwin with Hillbilly Jim. This match goes 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Heel JR is back on commentary. Woo. Razor comes down during the match. Phineas goes for a slop drop, and Razor jumps up onto the ring apron. That distraction lets... I did this again. That distraction lets Kane fucking jackknife Phineas. And he pins him for the win. Phineas is a big boy.
Yeah.
So good job, Glenn Jacobs, getting him up for that.
Well, he didn't really get him up for that. He got him up. He didn't so much get him up in a jackknife powerbomb.
Not close enough.
I don't know if Phineas just wasn't able to sit up from
I think he's
being
400 pounds.
Yeah. It was it's as much a powerbomb as getting somebody halfway up to a powerbomb and then just kind of dropping them for the jackknife there. But
it's not like jackknifing Rey Mysterio, but for how big he is, right. I was very impressed.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, Fake Diesel is strong as hell. This version of Glenn Jacobs is you look at him, he's built like an action figure.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that much smaller than Psycho Sid, who we've talked about being like one of the best physiques that they have
he's
out
taller.
there. Yeah.
He might be. He's not as like defined.
No, but no, not as Sid, but like he's jacked. He's strong. He's like clearly athletic too. And
Yep.
But this match is exactly what you think it is.
Stupid.
I did laugh when JR was first out on commentary and he called Vince out. He said, "I've already heard 2 what a maneuvers this night," which cracked me up.
My other 2 things were, one, we got the first of the Royal Rumble promos. I guess they're famous Royal Rumble promos about the 2 guys sitting in the arena and like sitting in the empty Alamo Dome. Did you recognize one of those? Well, you should recognize 2 of those people, but specifically, did you recognize one of those people, Adam?
I did not.
Oh, interesting. You don't remember George Germanopoulos? Germanopoulos? He was like the head of everything. The head of the entire video library department. The Germ.
Oh, right.
And I believe he was there with...
But I could not put a face to that name.
Oh.
I recall...
Well, it's the guy we saw.
Being at the video library now.
Remember, like, we saw him, he was probably 15 years younger and...
In this, yeah. Well, this is 96, so yeah, it's at least...
And I believe it's Adam Panucci is who's with him, who's like the WWF editor of when it put together some amazing video packages, the 2 of them.
I figured that it was probably like those kind of level of guys, because it's clearly not, it's clearly not actors.
Oh.
And they like just kind of grabbing people who work in the backstage stuff to be in the stuff like that. As we discussed, like the kid in the Freddie Blassie commercials was the son of a couple of producers there. But that commercial is funny.
And no, like lead up, they have like 100 variations, different variations every week. The other thing was, so they show footage from a Raw in 1993 from a King's Court, where they have someone called Tiny Tim who King is abusing in the segment in 1993. They then tell us that Tiny Tim is dead. And King continues to make fun of him anyway.
Yeah.
Which is odd.
In the footage, he took his mandolin. He took Tiny Tim's like little mandolin guitar and smashed it after he called him a Dairy Queen. It's like this quite the in memoriam right there.
Yeah, it was odd.
Yeah.
I don't know who he is, so.
Well, rest in peace, Tiny Tim.
No, whatever. That's the match. Any other thoughts?
Oh, well, we were still talking about the match? That's my thoughts on that match.
Yeah, moving on. Next up, we go to Shawn Michaels in WWF Studio. He has asked for time to apologize. He said he wasn't defensive enough last week, actually. He has a problem with Sid using the camera on Jose, not on him, and his emotions got the best of him. He talks about the MSG booing him, but said those people know that his match will still be the best, and that's all that matters. He's a man's man. God damn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Which
we're
is
going
the second
for
time we've been told that, so interesting.
Yeah, we're going for a man's man gimmick. That's
and he says that he is a bad role model. So if he's a role model to everyone, like, he's rough, but he has tattoos and he has long hair, but I'm Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, exactly. He's wearing the dorkiest shirt too in this. His hair is like so weirdly feathered, and it's dorky 1996. It doesn't look cool at all, but
it might look cool.
I think it looks more 1993 than 96. But that's just me.
When you're as cool as HBK, pull it off.
That's true. He, as we've heard, he's a man's man.
He's a man's man. It's like they finally figured out what Playgirl was, and Vince is like, "No, boy, oh boy, he's a man's man, not a girly man."
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to hate on it too much because, as we discussed on this podcast, I only just learned what Playgirl was when you explained it to me in that moment, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." This is my whole life. I thought that's so nice. There's a version for the ladies too, and then you brought that up, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're so right."
Oops.
Anyway,
next up, Jesse James versus Justin Hawk Bradshaw of Uncle Zebekiah.
Hot new character, Jesse James, by the way. Someone we've had a lot of video packages about, and it seems like they're going to build up. Yep, let's see. See where this build-up goes.
This match goes 6 minutes, and it's off to an auspicious start as they spell James wrong. I don't know. Sure. they know it's a tape show, right? Like they had 3 weeks to realize that the lower third spelled it Jammes. Maybe they wanted to call him that week only, but I've literally never seen James spelled that way or Road Dogg Jesse James spelled that way. So odd. Anyway, Uncle Zebekiah grabs JJ's leg, and that allows Bradshaw to hit the clothesline from hell. Obviously not called that yet, but that's what it is for the win. And after the match, they brandish Jesse James. So yeah,
he's saying "With my baby tonight" all the way to the ring too.
He did.
Like this was not what I was. I was not expecting him to be getting the Salvatore Sincere treatment after having some mic time before his match. That actually caught me way off guard. I also popped because they said at the beginning of the match that Raw tonight was presented by Beavis and Butthead Do America,
yes,
which is a perfect movie. I will tell you, if you go watch that movie, it sounds stupid, but first off, Mike Judge, total genius.
I haven't seen it in 20 years.
Oh my God, I'm a huge Mike Judge mark. I can tell you, I could do a whole nother podcast about like King of the Hill if we wanted to. But Beavis and Butthead Do America, if you watch that, a perfect movie has no wasted scenes, right? A perfect movie is always moving forward and everything is poignant and purposeful in it. And I know those are weird words to put together with Beavis and Butthead Do America, but Beavis and Butthead Do America is a fantastic movie. Highly, highly recommend.
There you go. That's our pick of the week. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Next up, we have our Karate Fighters tournament. So it's supposed to be Sid and Mr. Perfect. They announced that because Sid is champion, he can no longer participate. So, and because of that, Perfect is gone too. So King and Todd are announced as replacements, and King wins. Now, that's all bullshit. Mr. Perfect left the company. So they clearly taped all these Karate Fighter things. He left, and they're like, ah, shit. So they just made up some BS and had King and Todd do it. So.
Well, it sounds like the entire thing. That's what the entire Karate Fighters tournament is. Just some BS with Todd and King. So why hide it anymore?
Yep. Next up, we see footage from England and Stone Cold losing it. He nails Sid with the belt during match, WWF Championship match between the two. Bulldog comes out to attack Austin, and Sid is DQ'd. Sid goes to powerbomb Bulldog, but Brett makes a save. And then Brett and Sid go face to face, but Austin attacks Brett, letting Sid nail him with a chokeslam. So much going on. And then we cut to a bunch of backstage interviews taped at this England house show. We hear from Stone Cold. He says that he was about to become champion, and then it became chaos. Bulldog is pissed at Austin, but Owen says that they can't worry about Austin because they have a tag team championship match at the pay-per-view against Fake Diesel and Fake Razor. I think he can afford to worry about Austin a little bit. Then we cut to Brett, and he says that Stone Cold, I'll see you down the road, but right now Sid and the WWF title are the only things he thinks about. And then we get a quiet screaming promo from Sid, who's just yelling about everyone getting involved in his match. He's very upset about it.
Yeah. I like that this is shitty, like VHS quality.
Yeah. Just like handhelds at the house show. Nothing fancy, just whatever, do it.
Yeah, very, very mid-90s. They spent a lot of time on it, but
I mean, it's the only portion of the show where we get to find out about all the main event feuds. So
yeah, it's true. That's how they got through it. Yeah, not too exciting, but it's nice to see.
It was good stuff.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see Stone Cold have teeth so much now. You know, he's like really, really settling into like what that vicious, mean Texas rattlesnake is. You know, although I don't think he's the Texas rattlesnake yet.
I don't think so.
What do you think is going to be the next snake that someone gets to be in pro wrestling? Because you have Stone Cold, the Texas rattlesnake. Well, first off, Jake the Snake. That's just the snake, right? So we're not getting specific. Then you have Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Texas rattlesnake. Now you have Randy Orton, the Viper. What is the next type of snake, or do you even know any kinds of snakes?
Anaconda. It's gotta be an anaconda.
Okay.
But it's only like never really referenced, or everyone's like, "Yo, why is his nickname Anaconda?" And it's just like, well, you know.
Fun fact, because I like getting into the animal facts here on Monday Night Pod. The anaconda is not the world's longest snake, but it is the world's heaviest snake.
It's the girthiest.
Yes. The world's longest snake is the reticulated python. Anaconda is
Python's a good one too.
Anaconda is the second one. Yeah, python is kind of generic, you know, because like a viper is somewhat generic, but like vipers have fangs and stuff like that. You know, like a python could be like, you know, just like a fat ball python or something like that. I mean, even worse would be like a boa, because boas are just boas are pretty docile for the most part. I had a boa in college, a rosy boa. His name was Dante. His first name, middle name, and last name were all Dante. And he would just like chill around my neck at parties and stuff like that. Rosy boas are cute. They're just like fat and lazy and stupid. And like, he was fun. I miss Dante.
Did you just like let him into the desert one day or something?
No, I let an ex watch him when I went home for the summer, and this was in Arizona, and she said that the power went out in her house while she was away, and Dante cooked to death, I guess, in the house. Ugh. So, yeah, poor fella.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Dante.
Well, we'll transition from that snake into another snake.
Okay, and as Jeremy said, yes, the next wrestler to do something will be Anaconda. So as soon as we have a wrestler who steals our bull shark gimmick that we came up with, which still is money, I'm telling you, someone's going to make a lot of money on that bull shark gimmick, then the next person can be Anaconda. And I'll try and get a little more specific next time we start talking about snakes to really get in there. Like, I don't think garter snake is going to really drive home anything. Ooh, cottonmouth. Cottonmouths, those are the poisonous as hell. We can get back to wrestling. I'm sure I've lost half the viewers by now. I apologize.
Next up it is Mark Romero and Jake the Snake Roberts. So there you go. That was the whole point of all this. With Sable versus our WWF Intercontinental Champion, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Billy Gunn is our main event. 2 weeks in a row of this combination being the main event. Interesting. This match goes 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's just run through what happened here. We come backstage to Jesse James. He says that he wants a handicap match next week against Bradshaw and Zebekiah. Stupid. King continues to make fun of Tiny Tim, who, remember, died. Jake hits Billy with the DDT, but then he can't capitalize because of the beatdown he has taken. Miro kicks Hunter, Miro kicks Hunter into Billy, and then Hunter accidentally runs into Billy, sending him to the outside. They start arguing, so Billy just leaves. Miro hits a shooting star press for the win. And then Jake puts a snake on Hunter, and he runs away as the show goes off the air.
Yeah, I noted this is like a standard WWE throw 4 singles guys into a tag team Raw main event kind of match. There's like not really anything that exciting to go to here. Like last week's.
And it's 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and last week's was better, or at least I felt better. But at least I felt better coming off of it, I think. But by the way, Tiny Tim, also known as Herbert Bertos Kuhari, professionally known as Tiny Tim, was an American singer, ukulele player, and musical archivist. He is best remembered for his cover hits Tiptoe Through the Tulips, Living in the Sunlight, Loving in the Moonlight, which he sang in a high falsetto voice. Yeah, I know that one. That one was on SpongeBob.
I don't care about that. Tell me how old he was and how he died.
All right, let's see. He was born in 1932, died in 1996. So he was, doing some math, 64? No. Yes. And
I mean, you should say.
Let's see. Suffered a heart attack as he began singing at a ukulele festival.
That is not something to make fun of.
Wow.
It could have been something like, well, he was just very old.
Well, he was hospitalized then for approximately 3 weeks before being discharged with strong somethings, told not to perform again for his health, weight, and dietary needs, and he ignored the advice, and then he was playing a gala benefit for a women's club of Minneapolis. He told his third wife before the show that he was not feeling well, but did not want to disappoint his fans. By the end of his performance, most of the audience had left. Oh, this is sad. While performing his last number of the evening, he suffered another heart attack in the middle of the rendition of his hit, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. His wife asked if he was feeling all right, and he said he was not. She was helping him back to their table when he collapsed and never regained consciousness. That's fucking sad as shit!
Yeah, this is something weird to be making fun of constantly.
God.
And this show is taped. They could have not done this. So the commentary might have been live, but they revisit it later in the show. It got over so hard.
I mean, I understand, like, showing when he was on the show or whatever, even though King broke his ukulele, but then to, like,
right,
keep
you could show
ripping
that.
on him?
It's
when he
odd.
died performing a song for his... That's... Woof. That is sad. Dang. Well, you know what'll put me in a better mood is moving past this shitty episode of Raw.
You have nothing else to say.
Yeah. Usually we kind of get our thoughts on the episode together at this point, but, like, yeah. What
felt like an episode from a year and a half ago.
Right. Like, what is there to think about in this one? I mean, yeah, Bradshaw clotheslined the fuck out of Jesse James. That's kind of... Look,
He did that 5,000 more times.
Oh, yeah. I love a good lariat. That's all.
Sure.
All right.
I'll point you in the direction to see him do that again.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, shall we move on?
Let's do it.
All right, Adam, let's go to WCW Nitro. This is episode 64. We are coming to you live from the Hara Arena in Dayton, Ohio. Tony and Larry open the show. They are interrupted by the Steiners and a returning Scotty. The two of them call out Sting for attacking Rick from behind last week. We see footage of what Rick said last week and then Sting attacking him. But then, next up, it is our first match of the night. It's Glacier versus Hard Body Harrison. Haven't seen Glacier in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm. As they mentioned.
This match goes 1 minute. Glacier kicks his head off for the win.
Wow. If that was a Raw match, it would have gone 5 minutes with back and forth and a dead crowd before Glacier kicks his head off. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm down for it. I'm down for how all this Nitro's going. I mean, we moved past it really quick, but even Rick and Scott opening the show with that kind of energy of calling Sting out and saying, like, Scott coming out and saying, like, Sting, we've been friends for a long time, and you attacked my brother from behind. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck you.
Yep.
Come on out. We're finding you today. Like,
hot.
Yeah, dude. Sign me up.
But, yeah, his kick is still, like, weak. I mean, I know we've talked about this, and I've talked about
Works karate.
Erica said before too, but yeah, just like it's very slow kick, and I'm sure it is devastating, but it just doesn't pop the way you want a kick to pop.
Yeah, well, Glacier's all his entrance anyway and gear, so I mean they'd spend half the time talking about that anyway. They're like, look at his entrance, look at his gear.
Or at least they're not pretending like it gets cold in the arena anymore. I guess that was only a Bobby thing.
Is that real snow?
Yeah, I'm sure no one even directed him to do that. He just Bobby being Bobby. He's like, oh, getting a chill. It's cold in here. What's happening? It's snowing.
The GOAT. He's so good.
Next up, though, we see the Bengals in a crowd holding NWO shirts, and then the Dayton Ice Bandits are in the attendance as well. Lots of athletes from Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, and they're showing off that, like, hey, WCW is where it's at right now.
Hottest show on prime time.
Yeah, like, we show up in a town, and, like, the town's team comes to see us, which, like, we've made fun of a couple of times on this show about, like, wrestling being obsessed with being accepted by other forms of sport and other forms of entertainment, but like there is something I really like about when people show up to see wrestling when it comes into town.
Yeah.
You know, like the team shows up, or like in New York when SummerSlam or something was here, and like Brunch Boys is there, or like there's comedians from SNL or something in the front row. Like, or even like big stand-ups will be in the front row, which I always think is weird because you can see on TV they actively go to shoot around seeing them, which always strikes me as
don't
odd.
distract people.
All right. Why let people?
That's why
have
when
fun?
we go to the show, we sit like pretty far away.
Yeah. We get our tickets day of so that they're not ready for it. Hey, we got some sweet tickets for Barclays shows, and yeah. And man, we were gonna go to Prudential Center for Blood and Guts.
That was up in the air. Someday. Next up, oh great, It's Renegade and Joe Gomez versus Amazing French Canadians with Colonel Robert Parker. Let's just run through these notes here. I thought Colonel Robert Parker had a new name. It wasn't Colonel anymore.
Yeah, but he's dressed as like a colonel now, like a
Canadian
proper
colonel?
Maybe. Do they have those?
We talked about it 2 weeks ago or last week. I don't know what he is.
Canadian fans, please write in and let us know if you guys have colonels.
There you go. Or what is the highest ranking official officer?
Colonel's not the highest ranking.
I don't know. I don't know anything. The Postmaster General. They Amazing French Canadians asked the Hillbillies to sing along to the Canadian National Anthem. That's not my words. Those are their words, sorry. And they could barely get out the words. Basically, they only know the words I know, which are "Oh Canada," and then they mumble a bunch of stuff for 15 seconds, and they just called it.
Yeah, I was thinking that when I was watching it too. I was like, God dang, I've heard "Oh Canada" so many times in my life, and I could not tell you.
Well, it's confusing me because it's
after,
English
right
and it's French version. I believe they were trying to get away with it maybe being the French version, but they were not saying words.
I mean, yeah, I guess they are the Amazing French Canadians, so it makes sense.
Yeah, they were just like, "Oh Canada, oh Canada."
Yeah, right. So, let's see.
You're welcome.
Oh Canada, our home and native land.
Well, yeah, this is the English.
True praise.
That I could have sworn.
No, even when I've heard it in English, they never get through the second. Have I ever heard it in English? I'm trying to think.
I mean, every sporting event, you would hear it in English.
No, but in pro wrestling.
Pro wrestling.
As a heel team, come out.
No,
to
because
do it in English.
Canadians aren't as hateful as the French are, so Vince really wants to drive that point home.
True.
Anyway,
but this is
what the
WCW.
fuck- What happened here? Gomez goes flying to the outside as Parker pulls the ropes, takes a hard bump.
Yeah.
And then Parker goes after him. The ref struggles to control most of the match, and the Quebecer crash ends it. Which is like their assisted flying senton.
Yeah, I like the Amazing French Canadians' tandem offense. I think they actually have some really cool moves as a team. And then we've talked about him a couple of times in the show, but Renegade, it's so sad, his story, because he feels like when I'm watching him out there and his ring work and his look, he feels like he's just a step and a half away from putting the pieces together right, but they're just not right. You know? I feel like if he
does not have the look. He does not have the skills. He doesn't have the athleticism. He does not have the charisma.
No, he definitely doesn't have the charisma.
I think he's miles away from putting anything together.
I feel like he was close. Like if he had found someone who was a good mentor who would have really sharpened him up, that he could have been something. But
he needs to tighten up a little bit.
Well,
he could hit a handspring back.
More.
He could hit a handspring back elbow.
Sure,
that's cool.
He's got good power slams.
He's fine. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Anything else on that match?
No. I thought it was actually kind of decent. I didn't think it was bad.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Mean Gene is interviewing Arn Anderson on the entranceway. They talk about Hot Rod taking on Hogan at Starrcade. A lot of talk about that tonight. Pretty much every single segment. He says the perception Hogan is that he couldn't be beat, but guess what? He beat him twice. He loves the passion and guts Rowdy has. NWO took the best shot last week, but they didn't take Piper out. While this is all going on, the fans start chanting NWO. But yeah, so pretty much Arn is team WCW, and behind Rowdy, taking the flag of the entire company.
The Horsemen are behind him. Actually, all the Horsemen.
Yes.
Which is kind of a cool thing that they're rallying behind Roddy. Roddy's the guy who they're saying will be able, if he can bring the Horsemen to the table to work with everyone else, then what can't he do?
Absolutely.
What can't he do?
Well, next up, Faces of Fear versus Robert Gibson and Scotty Riggs?
Weird.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Match is 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Yeah, again, odd tag team. We understand Scotty Riggs doesn't have a partner, but why Robert Gibson doesn't have a partner is never explained.
Right, and if we're trying to say that Riggs is going to rebuild himself or make another team, you're not going to make another team with one half of one of the most iconic teams I was going to say in WCW, but in the business in general, in tag team wrestling. So,
it's weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
Anyway, they ignore the beginning of the match anyway, so we could see the NWO attacking the Faces of Fear in Harlem Heat last week. Like, split screen, can't say anything, just go to that part for a while. They beat the shit out of Scotty Riggs. Finally, hot tag to Gibson, but they just double team him and kick him in the face for the win.
That's right. It's just like a random kick in the face out of nowhere and then a pin. But, like, they're trying to, they're really trying to let us know that, like, Faces of Fear are two guys to not fuck with, because when they have to go for the tag titles on at Starrcade, Hall and Nash got something to watch out for.
Absolutely. Riggs comes in after the match and hits like the worst looking, weakest chair shots ever. Faces of Fear pretty much no selling any. We just sort of roll out of the ring and just shrug it off and leave. It's like, all right, whatever. Which should be the thing. When you come in at the chair, our YouTube audience will see this and you go, eh. And then the Faces of Fear, you can't do that to them.
Yeah.
It's odd.
These are guys you need to actively try and fuck up.
Yeah.
But they got those Samoan skulls.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a Faces of Fear match. They dominate and they destroy. Should it be almost 8 minutes? No, but it's fine. I guess you are in there with Robert Gibson, so he got that. He got the hot tag. The crowd didn't care, but he got the hot tag.
Yeah, because he wasn't getting it from Ricky Morton.
Right. And like even in 1996, they were a decade past their prime.
Sure. And yeah, Ricky Morton, one of the greatest sellers of all time.
Listen, the two of them are like the shit they did on AEW a few weeks ago. I was like, God damn.
Yeah. He took a spike pile driver in his 60s. I mean, he did a Canadian Destroyer last year. These guys are wild, man. Dude.
Anyway, next up, we see footage of Benoit and Sullivan beating the shit out of each other in Baltimore. So I harped on this a few weeks ago, being like, why is Kevin Sullivan saying Baltimore and not their pay-per-view? Apparently, their match didn't happen at the pay-per-view. It literally did happen at a house show in Baltimore.
I guess that's why it's shot the way that it was.
Right,
there.
so basically it's all shot handheld, it's shot shitty. It's almost the same way that the Raw stuff is shot. Which is confusing why they would have a blow-off like this, or I guess not a blow-off, but a big match in this heated rivalry, not on the pay-per-view or a Nitro or anything. Anyway, they fight into the bathroom again, where the Dungeon of Doom jumps Benoit. They come back to the ring. Woman jumps on Benoit to stop everyone, even attacks Sullivan to get them all to stop. And then, yeah.
No, you can go on. Because this, we can kind of wrap this up, I think, after we talk about this match, right?
I mean, we end up talking about this forever. So anyway, next up, Kevin Sullivan comes up for match. The announcers make no mention of who he's facing. Nobody tells us. I did a little bit of research, and somebody wrote on some Nitro review on some point that it was KC Sunshine. I don't really know if that's who it is, but sure.
That's the kind of thing that we would actually come into every now and then when we were working in the WWE tape library. Mm-hmm. We'd be like, hey, who the fuck is this guy? Does anyone know? And it'd be like, well, what'd they say? They didn't say anything. And we'd have to go around and we'd have to like see if we could find the biggest mark in the room. We'd be able to like figure it out. And sometimes it's just like, I don't really know who that is. But yeah, Casey Sunshine.
We are making it official that it's Casey Sunshine, sure. But that's from one source, but everyone else didn't have a name at all. So anyway,
well, the source that I had was the network saying that it's Casey Sunshine.
Oh, I didn't even look at that. That was a good idea. I spent too much time Googling that.
Let's see.
So then it is Casey Sunshine.
Looks like that is Sean Casey.
The baseball player?
Is his name. Sean Casey is an American professional wrestler who wrestles in the Southeast Independent Circuit. He has made appearances on World Championship Wrestling, World Wrestling Federation, and Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. He also appeared in the Playgirl magazine in 1997.
Oh.
Let's see.
But he's a
presently he tours and is a founding member of the 5 Most Wanted at Showtime All-Star Wrestling in Tennessee.
So he is currently still working.
Apparently so. Well,
he's Sunshine.
He's 48. He's younger than Jericho.
He could still get a WWE run in him.
Yeah, sure. He could maybe challenge for the TNT title.
Is Mr. Brody Lee going to continue the Open Challenge series?
I hope so.
My guess is
so.
no.
My guess is no. I would love if that title was just like it always had to be defended on TNT, and that was one of that was like the hook of it. But because I mean, yeah, you got to defend a title a lot to make it fucking matter. You know, like, I was thinking about this.
So, but Adam, if you do that math, that means that the 24/7 championship is the most prestigious belt in the world.
Well, look, it's not a literal across the line thing, but like that title feels important because it's been defended a ton of times, even though it's a belt that has not been around that long. The TNT title has had to be defended more times this year than the United States Championship. And the TNT title's been around for like 3 months.
Probably.
Right?
Probably.
I was thinking about this also, and this is related to everything that is going on. This is related to everything we're talking about because it's WCW and WWF. I was thinking about, like, what is the thing that WWF got from purchasing WCW that Vince or WWE values the most, right? And I have 2 thoughts. One is the library that
100%.
they got.
I mean, that was
for
what he
content.
bought, pretty
right,
much, yeah.
for content. But he bought intellectual property as well, right?
To go along with that, pretty
The
much.
only thing, though, that's still going, they carried the World Heavyweight Championship for a long time, and you know that the lineage of that went back through WCW and stuff like that. But the one thing that's still active today, that's lineage would be traced back through its WCW times, is the United States Championship belt.
Yes, I'll give you that. You could make a case for the cruiserweight belts, even though that is mushy and weird.
It also went away for like 10 years.
It's true. Do you United States do anything? Yeah, that went the full time.
Even though like it didn't matter for a long time, when like you
Still
know
doesn't really matter.
when Ambrose held it for like 400 days and defended it twice.
Oh, the U.S.
or
belt,
something
you
like
mean.
that.
Oh, I thought
Yeah. Cruiserweight.
Yeah, they sort of go through the waves and when they want to defend it. Our Intercontinental Championship has been defended a bunch. In fact, we have a new Intercontinental Champion.
You sure do. In one Jeffrey Montgomery Hardy.
Yes.
So there you go. Anyway, Casey Sunshine, Sean Casey, still a wrestler. Shout out to Sean Casey at Showtime All-Star Wrestling and his group, The 5 Most Wanted.
Great.
Feel free to hit us up on Instagram, on Twitter, email us, Facebook page, all of them at Monday Night Pod.
You want Sean Casey to do this?
Sure. I'd like to hear the story about getting the shit kicked out of you by Kevin Sullivan. Hey, what was it like to get your fucking teeth knocked in by Kevin Sullivan? That's interesting.
Fair,
I'm
because
down
my
for that.
only note is that Sullivan jumps and beats the shit out of him and then double stomps him for the win.
Yeah, Sullivan mauls this guy.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, we've talked way too long about that match. Mean Gene is in the ring to interview Sullivan. Says that he talks about Benoit hurting Benoit physically, but that night Benoit hurt him mentally and hurt him here. And I'm pointing to my heart for our podcast listeners.
Right. Well, even if you were a listener, you would be able to see that as effectively as you could in the shot because they had too tight of a shot on Kevin Sullivan's face to see that he was pointing to his heart.
Ah,
But
you know he's pointing.
you know from the context of what he's saying that that's
Right.
what he was pointing at.
Hinting
But
at Nancy and woman issues.
oh, woman issues.
Yes. Next up, WCW Cruiserweight Championship match. Billy Kidman versus our WCW Cruiserweight Champion, Dean Malenko. This match goes 6 minutes. Kidman gets some fast-paced action at the beginning, but Dean counters him with some just like big old power moves, including like a big power bomb on the outside. Pretty rough bump. Sonny Ono comes out to ringside with the camera, and he's like flashing photos, blah, 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 blah. Big old gigantic standing vertical suplex by Dean. Dean goes to the top rope, but Sonny flashes him in the eyes. I didn't really see the flash go off, but the announcer has made it clear that the flash went off.
It's kind of funny. I'm kind of into that as like an outside interference thing that
Sure.
like would.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, so he tumbles. Billy sets up the shooting star press, but it wasn't enough. Dean gets his knees up, counters it, and locks on a Texas Clover Leaf for the win.
There you go. I actually didn't find this match that. I mean, yeah, there's a couple.
That was pretty good.
There's a couple good. There's a couple brutal spots, but it was a little less than I was expecting from those two. It was a little more like.
Oh, Billy's still very green.
Yeah, it was a little more like tangle them up, stretch them out, kind of.
That's Dean.
Kind of
though.
Malenko style. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he usually like mixes them up pretty good.
That's
There's
true.
a little more of that in this match, but
Yeah.
it's fine. We also learned during this match that the WCW Executive Committee is the one who's able to make the decision about the fate of the U.S. Championship. And they are officially making a stand that it is not the Giant who is the champion, and that the title will be given back to WCW, and whoever wins at Starrcade with their tournament.
Yes. Next up, Big Bubba versus Jeff Jarrett. This match goes 4 minutes. During this match, hour 2 begins. Bubba accidentally knocks out Jimmy Hart. More bad officiating as Jimmy is just distracting the ref the entire time as Jeff is going for the win. But in the end, Bubba tries to nail Jeff with the megaphone, but Jeff drop kicks it right back into his face and pins him for the win. Oh boy. The cheating came back to bite him in the butt.
That's what you get for trying to cheat, Big Bubba.
But Jeff, as I say, continues his winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Steiner's in the ring, and they call out Sting again. Sting is in the rafters and watching, and he nods yes when Rick says, he wants to have a match with him. So we shall see that tonight, I guess.
As the documented Sting hater on this podcast, that was pretty fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he appeared up there and didn't say anything and just gave him
the nod.
I was like, all right, yeah, that's Stinger. That's fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into that.
Next up, Tony, Mike, and Bobby talk about Sting again as NWO music hits. Out come Bischoff, Outsiders, Six, and Vincent. They make their way and chase Tony, Mike, and Bobby off the announcer's desk, and they take over. It's going to be Eric and the Outsiders on commentary for the rest of the night. Eric addresses, why he didn't want Rowdy into WCW. We see footage of Hogan destroying Vader from a few years ago. Just bury that fucker.
Yeah, I was like, why, like with his mask torn off and everything like that. Like, why are we showing this right now?
Bury everyone. Even it's not even on Raw, but whatever.
Yeah.
Then they show footage of NWO destroying Flair and Hogan beating down Savage at Halloween Havoc.
Who we haven't seen in some time.
He is very hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he put off legit surgeries for months and months and months and months. So this dude he deserves a little time off.
That sounds like much.
Anyway, next up, it's Dave Taylor versus Eddie Guerrero. This match goes 2 minutes and 15 seconds. The announcers spend most of their time talking about who they want to recruit to NWO and them loving sushi.
Well, yeah, because they're talking about when they go to Japan and they start recruiting people. Because as they're watching Guerrero and Squire David Taylor, they're realizing that they need a little international flair if they're going to be the new world order.
Yes. They say this is the pilot for NWO Nitro. That's why things are still WCW-ish. Anyway, in the end, Eddie hits a frog splash for the win.
Now, they're kind of especially the Outsiders, they're kind of making a ton of jokes and shitting on things a little bit, but they're also really putting over.
They're actually being good announcers.
Yeah, they're that'll be a running theme throughout this. I'll probably mention it a couple other times, but I was, spoiler alert, I was super impressed by how good these guys worked on the announcers booth.
Yeah, I agree.
They should be doing that somewhere. I don't know, or they should have done it a little bit at some point. Regardless.
Well, if they get their show NWO Nitro, that might be what it is. Next up, it's Arn Anderson versus Jim Powers with Teddy Long. This match goes 3 minutes. Arn Anderson murders him with the DDT.
Yeah. Well, that's what you expect out of a Jim Powers match right there.
Yeah.
And, again, the Outsiders are putting over... they're putting over Arn the whole time, talking about how fucking tough he is. They're of course, how tough they are, but, they're not calling him weak. They're not, making fun of his bald spot. They're they're just putting him over. It's
absolutely
good, man.
Next up, the U.S. title tournament continues. This time, Chris Benoit takes on our TV champ, Steven Regal. Match goes 6 minutes and 30 seconds. No woman with Benoit tonight, even though it's lower thirded. As he comes down, a woman's with him. Regal, this match goes to shits very early because basically Regal legit gets busted open, but we can't really see it because the second there's a hint of blood, they pull the cameras back really, really wide because they had no blood policy at the time.
That's wild.
So what they do is...
It's funny.
So the Outsiders try and cover it by saying a few things. First, they cover it by saying there's a wide shot saying that they are looking for Sting. It's why they can see Sting. They also say these cameramen, what are they on strike because we're announcing this is terrible, we should fire them and have the Giant shoot it.
Because he directed Hogan's movie.
Right. Basically, I can't even comment on this match because, you can't, even though you can see what's happening, you aren't, feeling this match. It just sort of, some action is happening in the background of the shot.
You're feeling the match as if you were in the crowd, sitting from a distance.
But not even, because like the perspective of a wide shot is always going to make stuff feel farther away than it is in reality.
Oh yeah.
So it's like it just feels so distant that just like. Anyway, Dragon Suplex ends it. Benoit wins. I don't understand why you go to commercial, you see what you can do with Regal's face. I mean, they do that in WWE now. Or you just go home early. They let them wrestle. I mean, he gets busted open like within the first 30 seconds of the match.
Yeah.
So it's 6 minutes of this wide shot.
But I thought it's funny, like, just, like, listening to the Outsiders cover for it.
I mean, yes, like, it's funny, but it's just, like, there are lots of options here to fix this situation, and they didn't do any of it.
Look, it's live, pal. It's live TV for you. And, like...
Vince would not have allowed that shit.
No. But, I think it's funny that this happened. Crowd is really hot for Benoit too.
It seemed like a good match. I wish I could have watched it.
Yeah, right. Well.
Oh well.
There it is.
He moves on in this mystery tournament because we still have no brackets and no idea of what's actually happening. Just he moves on. Anyway, Mean Gene is on entrance with Arn, Mongo, Deborah, and Benoit joins them. I talked about the victories last week. Arn says that they are stepping up to be leaders of WCW and will back Roddy Piper. Pretty much saying what he said before. Benoit says woman is taking care of horseman business. Arn is like, well, what horseman business is going on that I don't know about? He goes, I promise you. Mongo, of course, talks about playing football.
You're going to be shocked to hear that.
And then Deborah talks shit all about women, being like, woman's so annoying. She talks about Benoit endlessly. I hate that bitch. Arn then comes back around and says, you know what, Benoit, if you say she's on horseman business, I trust you, and they shake hands.
I was very impressed by Deborah in this one, actually. It was kind of Deborah's best promo that she's had yet, because she talked about how, like, I've known girls like this my entire life. When I was in elementary school, and I was the prettiest girl that I was voted, and then in high school when I was the prom queen, and then I went on to become Miss Alabama, and then I went on to become Miss Illinois, and like she was just like talking about her long path through beauty pageantry and stuff, and the ladies that she's had to deal with along the way, not in anything specific, but calling woman one of those ones. And I was like, hey, that was actually the best that we've ever seen of Deborah right there. That was kind of cool.
Fair. Totally fair.
Yeah.
Next up, Lex Luger versus Rocco Rock with Johnny Grunge. This match goes 4 minutes. Grunge and Rocco try to cheat the entire time, and once again, the ref does nothing. The refs were not good tonight. No Nick Patrick, surprisingly, all night, and the refs were still really shitty. Anyway, Rocco accidentally knocks Grunge off the apron, and Lex uses that distraction to lock in the rack, and he wins the match.
Right. Not a lot to talk about match-wise here, but I was laughing real hard because the Outsiders and Bischoff are talking. They start talking about like if they should go acquire an entire company in Japan, and then I think it's Hall who says like maybe we'll just purchase ECW, and they all just start cracking up. They start saying like if we need to like we got a good run on bingo halls, we're fine or something like that. They were shitting on it, but they were all like totally just cracking up. Like it was, you know, it was like a legitimate laugh. You could tell from everybody because like Bischoff was like out of breath while they were laughing. It was I popped, and I love ECW. That was funny hearing them shit on it.
Next up, it's main event time, or it should be main event time. It's supposed to be Rick Steiner versus Sting. Sting comes down, throws his bat down, turns his back to Rick. Rick takes advantage and starts beating and pummeling Sting. Sting, though, comes back, hits a Stinger death drop before he... I don't know what I was trying to write. Anyway, he gets back up. Sting then points the bat at Rick, shoves him back, then hands the bat over to him, turning his back once again. Rick goes to nail him, but Scott stops him as Sting just leaves. Outsiders and Eric think he's going to sign with the NWO. They have the contract. They're waving in front of him. Sting just points the bat at them and then leaves through the stands, and that's how Nitro goes off the air.
I loved that.
Yeah, it was good.
I thought that was awesome.
It was, I mean, far superior to the past few Nitros where it's just like Hogan talking and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and going and flexing and stuff like that. No, it's like a real story, and we've got more people with the NWO who are involved now, and like seeing Bischoff and the Outsiders like so stoked, like waving the contract around, like he's coming to sign it and whatnot, and then he walks the other way. It's like there's so much like intrigue with this story, and like all the characters are playing it differently and reacting to it differently, and everyone has different reasons to feel the way that they do. It's just really, really firing on all cylinders there.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I guess, like, I don't know, Adam, what are your overall thoughts on Nitro then?
You know, as we went through it, there was a few things that were weaker than, like, sort of when I finished it and I was walking away. You know, like, I finished this episode. I was like, man, that was a really great, really strong episode. Like, I don't know why.
I did not feel that way.
I felt that way, but maybe I felt that way just because, like, I loved the Outsiders and Bischoff on commentary in the second half.
Yeah.
I thought they brought so much more, such an interesting new energy to the show, and compared to anything that we've seen on either show, it was just like the way they were being self-referential and laughing about the show and kind of using little insider jabs here and there, and like, I mean, 96, Yes, 96. We're not 97 yet. December of 96. Like, there's no way that people our age in 96 would, like, really know ECW. I mean, maybe you would because you were on the East Coast here. But, like...
I mean, it was if you were on the internet, you knew what it was.
Yeah, but it's the internet in 1996. Like, that's a stretch. You'd have to be on the internet looking for wrestling stuff specifically.
They were on Raw, no?
They
didn't invade yet, but they had a thing.
They had a thing in that, like, Taz was in the front row at one point, but they didn't show him.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, they didn't like cut to him or anything like that, and the crowd was chanting ECW. I mean, I really enjoyed that, and so, like, kind of coming off the show, like I said, I was like feeling pretty good about it. As we went through it, I can see a few more weaknesses in it, but like I thought it was. You know, I'd give this one a passing grade for sure. I think it was better than it was worse.
I thought it was the better of like the NWO doing stuff.
Yes.
I don't really think any of the matches were amazing. The only match that had potential we weren't able to see.
That's right.
I like the Kidman Dean stuff, I guess. Listen, at the end of the day, which show was better? Raw was piss poor and Nitro blew it away. Was Nitro even that good of a show? No, but Raw decided not to show up this week.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I mean, look, like I really dig the Steiner Brothers and Sting storyline that we touched on. That they told it very perfectly. They told it in 3 concise beats. Yep. Right, top of the show. Hey Sting, what the fuck last week? We're pissed off at you now. You're like. And last week you weren't even thinking about like Scott and Sting having the friendship that they do. All you know is like Sting attacked Rick, right? So you start the show. Hey Sting, you fucked up. Middle of the show. Sting, where are you? We're calling you out. Sting comes at the top, says, "Yeah, cool. Let's do this." End of the show. Let's do it. They get in there. We're gonna fight. Oh, but whoa, what's this? Sting is just giving it to him. He's just saying attack him. And NWO is fully claiming ownership over Sting, by the way. They're fully claiming that he is in their colors. He is on their side. He is a member of the New World Order. And we're going through it like that. Like, that is a good story told in 3 parts that, like, is easy to follow, easy to understand the motivations for. Whereas, like, on Raw, we had no... And, you know, it's like sometimes I hate when they focus too much on one person's story, like especially in the early John Cena years, that like WWE was really guilty of that.
There were no other stories, and
yeah, exactly.
Like, if you go back and watch those times, like there was no other storylines. There were obviously other matches and things happened, but nobody was writing anything other than what John Cena was doing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so like when it focuses too much on one thing, I don't like it. But like if you look at Raw, there was no continued anything throughout. Like as a show, it was more of a collection of clips than it was like a concise show. Like this episode, this is a thing that we could say happened. On Raw, we could just say that like Raw happened.
Very true. Well, we're in the middle of 83 weeks, so we know the winner. Nitro won. America obviously agrees. Nitro gets 3.4 and Raw gets 2.3.
There it is. Well,
any other thoughts before we say goodbye?
Nah, man. I think we need someone to keep track of these things for us, please. But
someone has to mark down Nitro, I guess. The person's doing that. Make yourself known. That'd be nice too.
We'll give you call outs. We'll say, hey, our friend Jose is really like knocking it out of the park here, keeping track of our stuff. But yeah, man, like I'm actually like getting stoked to see where NWO and Sting and everything like that is going right now.
Well, you have a while.
Yeah, of course. Not really a lot exciting on Raw other than seeing Stone Cold become Stone Cold in front of our very eyes. But yeah, that's my general thoughts right now.
Great. Well, since I forgot last week, let's make it triply clear this week. If you like this podcast and you're listening to it somewhere, why don't you hit the follow and subscribe button? That's nice. If you're listening specifically on Apple Podcasts, you could leave a 5-star review. That's appreciated. If you're watching on YouTube, you should hit like. You should comment below. Tell us who you thought should have won this week's battle between Raw and Nitro. You can subscribe as well. You can share the video. That's cool. And then if you have more to say, we're happy to chat with you. You can find us on Monday Night Pod on Instagram, Monday Night Pod on Twitter, Monday Night Pod on Facebook, info@mondaynightpod.com if you want to send us an email. I guess if you're watching us on YouTube, if you want to watch us on YouTube, we're Monday Night Pod there. There's like, if you just type Monday Night Pod Wrestling's War into Google, things should pop up by now.
Things should pop up, yeah. Just click on every link that you see right there.
Well, I mean, triple check what it is. But whatever. All right. Bye, guys.